are some organizations that still need to learn a lot. It's not about securing your own organization. It's about securing an ecosystem. Ultimately, if you don't manage this well, this has an impact on trust, it has an impact on potential legal consequences. It might affect your position in the market space, and if it goes totally wrong, it ultimately may affect the owners. And usually we only learn from severe incidents, but I hope we have other learnings.
Who is a better hacker, Russian or a Chinese? Which is the most common delivery method for viruses? Is it email? Is it instant messages? Is it internet downloads or portable media? If you're interested in knowing what will cybersecurity look like in 5 years from now, what is the future of cybersecurity? If you are interested in knowing what should be the ratio between technical and GRC knowledge, which is governance, risk and compliance knowledge, for a wholesome cybersecurity profile. If you want to know what are organizations doing these days, are they putting CISOs in the board? Then this is the episode for you. Our guest today is Dr. Sander Zeijlemaker. He's an entrepreneur with nearly 2 decades of experience within cybersecurity. And he's an international speaker at different universities and conferences. Welcome, Sander.
Thank you.
How are you today?
I'm doing great, and I'm delightful to be part of your podcast.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you so much. So, Sander, let's start from the beginning. 2 decades of experience in this field when people didn't even know the name of cyber. What was it like at that time?
Well, to be honest, I started the whole process as a certified public auditor in an internal audit department of a large Fortune 500 company. And when I was there, I already saw a lot of automated processes, and I want to understand more of that topic. So in that space, I already said, I want to know more. So I acquired a degree in IT audit and started to work in the space where IT meets business. And this was my primary interest. So how can IT drive the business? And this was already at a company that was highly automated. So there were already notions about cybersecurity, but at that day and age, it was more part of the IT team, part of risks, but always with an IT perception. But in this day and age, it totally changed.
Right. So you've been doing this with different organizations and, in and out of different companies. What do you do now?
Well, now I have my own company that started 3 years ago. And this particular company focusing on cyber risk governance and cyber risk management. And besides having some consultancy services, I'm also doing research at Massachusetts Institute of Technology in the same space.
Oh, that's lovely. You need to explain us what is cyber governance and cyber risk, where you just mentioned. Just give us a little bit of understanding so that our audience understand what it is.
In the previous day and age, a lot of time ago, we had IT, and the IT department had to secure the company and did their utmost best. But today, we are in a society where everything is interconnected, dependent on a lot of technology. So in order to drive your business in this society, it needs to be secure. And in order to take the right decisions and set the right priorities in the organization, this topic enters the boardroom. So now you need to have mechanisms in place how you govern and oversee your cyber risk. So, and this is basically the difference. One is a board perspective on the topic, setting the conditions to enable the security organizations and the business to drive their strategy in a secure and sound way. And you have the operational aspects, and that is part of the different departments. By the way, that goes beyond the efforts of the IT department.
Oh, right. Okay. And have you seen any difference in what it was initially, and over the years, has it changed? Or has it become more acceptable by the organizations?
there is a huge difference in my opinion. There are some organizations that are very mature in this space, and there are some organizations that still need to learn a lot. And recently, I believe in the beginning of this year, World Economic Forum issued a report about the state of security 2024. And what I found very interesting in that report was there is a security gap. Not all organizations are equal. You see the large organizations are doing better, but the small and medium entities, they have a lot to gain. And I think this is something we need to change in society. It's not about securing your own organization. It's about securing an ecosystem.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Normal businesses source a lot to their partners, and that makes perfectly sense. You find companies that can do things essential to your product, but they can do it better. They can do it with higher quality standards against lower costs. But that also creates independency in the value chain, and that needs to be secure. At a certain moment in time, the size and level of the organizations are going to change. So when you are a large organization working together with small organizations, how do you ensure you remain secure? And what you see in this day and age, the adversary knows. So yeah, attacks in the supply chain are massively increasing.
Yeah. Very rightly said. You mentioned something about Massachusetts Institute of Technology. Want to know more about that? What do you do there?
What I'm doing there is research in the space of cyber risk management and cyber risk governance, but I'm particularly interested in applying simulation techniques to this problem space.
Okay, so you've got like your own simulation frameworks that you go and implement them?
Well, what we basically do is creating some kind of digital twin. When you started to learn to fly a plane, you first start in a simulation. When you need to learn to drive a tank, you first start in a simulation. So when you are managing very valuable assets, you start with a flight simulator to learn what's happening. But when it comes to managing a multi-billion company, we rely solely on experience. Why don't we use the similar concept to train taking the right decisions at the right moment and foresee what will be the future impact? And this is what I try to do. If you take a wrong decision when managing your cyber risk or implementing a cyber risk management strategy, and it is a wrong decision, it can have huge consequences for the organization. When you take a wrong decision in the simulation, you just restart the computer. And this is what we try to do. Just showing the people, this is your organization, this is the simulation, certain performance indicators critical to your decision making are simulated in the same way what you observed in your last management reports. We have tons of mechanisms that you can rely on the simulation. And now let's see what are possible future scenarios. What strategies will work and what strategies won't work.
It's very interesting.
And this is the basic concept we use. And on one hand, we do case study analysis. On the other hand, we have some simulations where we analyze decision-making behavior. And yeah, there we make some research papers and research stories and tell people how they can improve their decision-making process.
Right. So you mentioned that there will be some consequences and you try, of course, organizations through your simulations, try avoiding those consequences and, in better decision making. So what kind of consequences are we talking about? Is it mainly financial?
Well, the first thing we try to give people an understanding that taking the right cyber risk management decisions is very hard. And why is it very hard? You have a changing adversary evolving over time. You have a changing organization in terms of people, processes, technology, and you have emerging incidents. So people who were working at a certain security function need to shift priorities because there's an incident. They need to fix the problem. So they stop everything they were doing, fix the problem, and go back to their day-to-day work. Well, the first consequence is basically what's called spillover effect. So if your security function cannot handle the incident because of its massive impact, it first spills over to the IT department. They have a better knowledge about the technical structure of the company, so they can help security to fix the problem. If they can solve it together in their incident response, yeah, this is the stage where the breach is out in the open. So now the whole process of emergency response transfers to stakeholder management and crisis management. Why is that? Your customers know, your supplier know, and the only thing they want is that you are able to delivering the service or products they were promised. And if you can't do that, what do they need to do? Because they have a dependency from you towards their own customers, what they need to solve. So this is another impact. So you see an escalation of impacts, which started in the operational technical space of the company, but ultimately, if you don't manage this well, it has an impact on trust, it has an impact on potential legal consequences, it might affect your position in the market space, and if it goes totally wrong, it ultimately may affect the owners or stakeholders of the company.
Yeah, wow. Wow. Well, it sounds all very important, but are organizations actually treating this to be very important? Because yes, you said that, large organizations treat them as a very important topic. I don't know if organizations are even thinking of putting CISO in their board, because usually they come under either finance or IT, right?
Well, it's really yes and no. What you see is you have to take in consideration the size of the organization. If you have more meat on the bones, you can easily organize and putting the knowledge at the boardroom what you have. But if you have a smaller organization, how are you going to organize? But what is really important is that you know, in terms of setting your priorities and strategic decision making, what are the business, financial, and organizational consequences of materialized cyber threats. And that basically means you need to have a business perspective on cybersecurity. Right. And you need to be able to translate what's happening in the technical and security field to a level where the board can make a comparison where they want to invest and how they want to invest. At the end of the day, organizations are limited in their budgets and the resources they have. And they need to cope with all kinds of strategic challenges. In one hand, they focus, for instance, do we need to invest in new products? Do we need to focus on finding new customers? Or can we invest more in security? But at the end of the day, you have limits to your money. So how are you going to compare? Yeah. This is only the natural language of business, operational, and financial impact.
Could it be that some sectors find it more important because, I don't know, maybe they are in technology and they think, okay, for us, cybersecurity is very, very important. I don't know. I'm just thinking from a layman's perspective, which sector, is it really divided sector-wise, their mindset?
Well, I think the landscape is going to change. And what you see at this day and age, certain organizations do very well in investing securities, but other organizations need to do more. And this has been observed by different governments across the globe. So you see all kinds of initiative in drafting legislation and regulations about securing the company. So this basically means cyber risk management enters the boardroom. If you like it or not, it enters the boardroom. And for instance, if you look to the European space, we have new regulation about the NIS2 directive. And basically this directive says we are focusing on critical or essential products and services in the European Union. They focus on duty of care, so you need to take informed decisions about managing cyber risk. You have an obligation to report whether your critical service or products are being impacted. But also you need to have plans available when there is an incident. And depending how your organization is labeled, you need to have them up front and they can be subjected to an audit. Or you need to have them available prior to the incident. and government will assess after the incident if you do right. The typical focus of NIS2 is that they focus on the supply chain. So through this regulation, it may affect also suppliers of those companies being in scope.
Right.
And another perspective is that security is not an option anymore. The organization can be fined, but also the board members can be fined if they don't take the right responsibility and the right decision. And it's not only finding a board member, they also can be banned from the market space, being a board member for a certain period of time.
Okay, so these are the rules and regulations of this new framework called NIS2.
This is only NIS2. There's many more happening in this space.
Okay. Does this NIS2, is it applicable to all the organizations?
Only if you are labeled as critical or important, of essential and important infrastructures, depending on your size, it depends on revenue, balance size, FTEs, and if you're a small company, you're not subjected to it. Or government agencies can say you're so important for national security, we label you as critical infrastructure.
Ah, okay, okay. So startups like you and me, we are not coming under this NIS2 framework.
No, unless we are essential to national security, then we need to walk an extra mile.
Yeah. No, we're not.
Yeah.
Okay. So, talking about someone who, let's say, is studying at a university, and he just, or she they just realize that this is not something that I want to do. I want to move into cybersecurity. What are the do's and don'ts at that moment? Because they are not studying cyber at that moment. What are your suggestions or recommendations for such people that want to pursue their career in cyber, but they don't know how because they haven't really studied?
Well, there are many opportunities, and what you see is we need different roles and people with different backgrounds in cybersecurity. It's not only people in the technical space that are required. So the question is, what kind of study do you like? What can you add to the community, and how does it align with cybersecurity? So we need, of course, people with a technical background to work in the technical area, but we also need to be able to translate cybersecurity rules to the practice. So we have a legal perspective on cybersecurity. When you're dealing with suppliers, cyber security enters the contract management space and the supplier management space. So you need to be able to combine a procurement perspective with cybersecurity. When we already discussed, you need to know the business, operational, financial impact of materialized cyber threats to have a proper discussion at board level. So you need someone who is able to translate the technical part in the non-technical part. So, and we can go on. In the international geopolitical domain, cybersecurity also plays a role. So now you need people who understand this domain with politics and cybersecurity. Okay. So you don't need a dedicated study. It helps having a dedicated study. But there are lots of other initiatives. And for instance, within the Netherlands, Decipher organizes every year a summer course to make people acquainted with cybersecurity.
Did you say Decipher?
Decipher.
It's an institute, or
it's a government agency who tries to basically help security get into society. They are also focusing on for instance, when you can get some grants, they have a certain role in it. So they're basically bridging the connection between governments, between research, universities, and practice. You also have a very great hub in The Hague, HSD, and this is a network organization fostering the security landscape in the Netherlands and trying to make the connection. They also have
So
a
it's a
very
networking community
yeah, but
kind of a thing.
they have also a dedicated summer school where you can apply, but they have a very tough selection and only select a very few. But if you are able to join that session, it provides a great overview of what's happening in the field of security. So these are other examples. You can do a second study or a minor in the field of security. So there are many options.
Yeah, and how important are these certifications? Because every time I go ahead and get a new job description, talking to a hiring manager to find a cybersecurity expert, they come up with 10 certifications, a list of them that person has to be CISSP, he should have done Cisa. How important are these certifications?
Well, when you look at certifications, it sets a certain standard within the field, and it gives a certain clarity what people can do. So their certification helps. And what you see in this field is there was already a discussion about we need a certain quality, we need people that have a certain background. This helps.
Yeah, okay. Okay, but it's not really a must to have. You think experience would take over certifications?
Well, I think you need to have both.
You need to have both.
To be honest.
Okay.
And I think the certification track really helps people who have great experience, but not some kind of master in security. You still can show, hey, I understand certain concepts and fundamentals of and models that are widely applied in security, and this is what I know. And since you already have the practical background, yeah, I think it helps people to get into the security space, but also people working in the security space understanding what can you do. So yes, I'm in favor of a certain amount of certificates.
All right. You mentioned that it's not necessary to be technical to be able to be a part of this domain. What ratio, but do you think little bit of technicality is still required, or what ratio would, let's say, a person should have between technical knowledge and GRC knowledge?
Well, it really depends on your role, and the larger the organization is, the more you can differentiate. But if you're working at a small organization, you need to have a jack of all trades. In a smaller organization, you need to have a basic knowledge about what's happening in the technical world, because you need to implement things. But when you are larger, you have much more regulation, especially in the international domain. So you also need people who can do that analysis. I have, in my past career, I have worked in security at a global function. And you really saw that people there had different knowledge areas, and some were really very strong in the technical space, but those were folks all working in the incident response team. They did some ethical hacking. There were also folks with really important consultancy roles, but there were also people with a more holistic approach and knowledge base towards security, but always understand what people with deeply technical skills were telling and able to translate them to their work field.
Right.
So in certain roles, you need to understand what is happening in that space. But
right. Of course. I mean, you've got a whole lot of experience in this field, Sander. So what do you think, from your perspective, is the future of this domain? Let's say 5 years from now, where do you think cybersecurity is going to be?
Well, I think it will be there. Cybersecurity is something that will stay.
Yes, so we are in business.
Yeah,
it's not going to go out.
So we are in business. I think the workload becomes massive for the security function, and that has to do with the fact we are using more and more devices, creating all kinds of sensors in all kinds of technical forms. So we are going to manage more and more assets. And meanwhile, the vulnerabilities per assets on average are going up as well. So we need to rethink how are we going to manage this whole domain and secure them, because we don't have the staff. Last week, I saw some insights about global shortage in staff in security. It's estimated around 4 million FTEs.
Yeah.
So we need to work smarter, and we need to automate. So this is one part. So some people say zero trust concept will be important. It's basically the assumption we trust nobody, and we organize around that.
Yeah.
Another thing is we need to rethink how we collaborate with our suppliers, especially due to inequality in the different suppliers. Largest protect very good, small, medium entities have some challenges. So we need to rethink how are we going to collaborate. And I believe we will have some co-opetition in the world. So marketing and sales will compete on each other. But when it comes to security, there will be a space where we work together in solving problems, in sharing information. And you already see this happening, for instance, what's called the ISAC. These are information sharing platforms based on industries, where people say we share relevant information together. We have some degrees in confidentiality, but it helps to anticipate to upcoming threats. Okay. But in my opinion, personal opinion, this space should be explored further. Yeah. We also need to think about security incubation mechanisms, not for building products, but how do we work together, a large and a small entity. And you already see this. For instance, ASML in the Netherlands already train their suppliers on security. But I think this concept will even evolve more in the future. If you're working with a supplier and they need to have dedicated security measures, specific detections, what is really expensive, why don't we find a way where the large supplier provide detection solutions to the small supplier, and they can leverage the knowledge. Why don't we have agreements where a large supplier say, if you have a problem, my security team will help you. So we have different perspective on incident response, but this is my opinion.
And I think it's a very good way of solving this recruitment problem, because the gap is increasing year on year. And if we start training in-house, or like you said, to your own suppliers, we're going to close this gap soon.
Yeah, I think we need to move to a perception of ecosystem resilience.
Okay.
And even so, if a large company is hit and they can't deliver their services because of this cyber attack, what is your alternative way of delivering your services and products? Who is going to help you?
Yeah.
Do you have a hot standby mechanism that you can use? Are you working with competitors who have spare capacity? Other ways, or do different products you can often say to the customer, we don't have A, but B might help you. We need to rethink about it, but since the digital transformation continues, the dependency on technology increases, these are the problems we need to think of.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You're touching upon very important problems or points that I think we as a society or together as a community need to think about. How is it that we can solve this in the future?
And this is, I think, a really difficult area, because now what you see in society, at the end of the day, the market model pushes us to low-price products. So there's always a focus on limiting the cost. Well, security increased the cost. So where are we going to balance?
Yeah.
And where do we say this business model doesn't work anymore?
Yeah.
And usually we only learn from severe incidents, but I hope we have other learnings instead of severe incidents.
I know. One last question, and then we're going to move into our rapid fire round. What is your mantra in life?
One important mantra is basically you will suffer setbacks in life, and you need to absorb them. but try to absorb them and embrace them, because there's so much happening you can enjoy. And at the end of the day, you should enjoy this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good, Sander. Thank you so much. We are getting into a rapid fire round.
Okay.
Very interesting questions.
Yes.
You need to answer them as soon as possible,
Yes.
like as fast as possible.
Yeah.
And I have 9 questions for you.
Oh dear.
Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, great. How easy is it to hack?
Depends on the defender, but can be very easy. If your windows are open, if your doors are open, if your diamond on the table, just walk in and grab the diamond. If everything is closed, you have a guard with a gun and a watchdog, it's very hard. And this was happening in the security space as well.
Very well said, yeah. What are the legal consequences of being caught as a hacker?
It really depends if you're a white hat or a black hat. A white hat tries to help improve organizations with their security. So they say, hey, I saw a weakness in your organization. This is how you can resolve them. The black hat tries to enter the organization, steal money and data, and take them for themselves. The last one is a crime.
Yeah.
So yeah, then you have the legal system.
Yeah. Okay. Who is a better hacker? Russian or a Chinese?
Oh, that's a hard question for several reasons. It depends on the type of hacker. Is it a state actor? Is it someone living in that area or not? If someone wants to hack, that person needs to have a motivation. It needs to have knowledge and means to do so, so resources. It needs to have an opportunity. And if those 3 are available, then someone can attack. Within this day and age of AI, we can automate things. And even in the black market, dark web, you have cybercrime as a service. So who's the worst guy? Yeah, I don't know, but there's several tricky parts in the world we need to be aware of.
Okay, politically correct answer, I have to say. Okay, which is the most common delivery method for viruses? Is it email? Is it instant messages? Is it internet downloads or portable media?
We have 5 of them where the adversary can play with, and all 5 are relevant. So one is the email and web access of users. Then you have the accounts that are there, the suppliers we already discussed extensively during the meeting, and you have hardware and software assets connected to the internet, usually not properly configured or installed, that can be exploited.
Okay. So all 4.
Yeah, and I added, I believe, another one. So yes. Yeah, short answer is yes.
Yeah. Okay. Scenario.
Yeah.
I'm a 70-year-old man with a lot of money in my bank. Give me 3 tips on how I can avoid becoming a victim of cybercrime.
First of all is you have still your known contacts at the bank. You have your known channels, how to contact them. If you are in doubt, use the normal contact mechanisms.
Just call them.
Call them to the number you know. Go to the office you know. You see a lot of commercials of banks that say, we don't call you to do any financial transaction. And what you also see, if you receive an email where you need to click to update your account information, you need to rethink what you start doing. And if you're in doubt, follow the way in the route you know, and not the change proposal in your email.
Yeah. So more of that conventional way of banking while calling or just walking into the bank and making sure that everything is...
You need to take the route that you know is safe.
Okay. You take the route that you know is safe.
Yeah.
I have just moved houses and received a new router. Should I change my default password and why?
Yes, definitely. Default password is the password they use on every device and everybody knows it. So basically, this is an example of an open door and an open window in terms of security.
Right. Yeah. Okay. The mouse on my computer starts to move around on its own and click on things on my desktop. What should I do?
Well, if I don't have confidence what's happening on my laptop, turn it off.
Okay.
Turn it off, isolate it so it's not connected to the internet. and then work from there. But the
Right.
first part is isolate the problem.
Great. If you fall for a phishing scam, what should you do to limit your danger?
If you fall and you're subjected to it, go to the local authorities and say, I fall for the phishing scam. Go to the company you're related to and say, hey, your website or mechanism is being scammed. Call help. Don't do nothing. This is the largest problem there is.
Right. Okay. One digital safety rule that you always follow.
What I always do is, if you are in doubt what's happening, follow the route that was trusted to you and you know it worked well. So if I see a problem in my email space, what I need to do, I use the app I have, or I contact my banking agent with the numbers I already received that I know that are trustworthy, and talk from there.
Yeah.
If my daughter or son sent a message, hey, I've got a new phone number, this is my new phone, I call them on the old number and say, hey, is this correct? And then take it from there. Validate what's happening instead of using it without validation.
Amazing. I think that's a very, very important point, that you should validate first and then take the next step. On this beautiful note, Sander, thank you so much. It was lovely having you. And thank you all for watching, and stay tuned for our next one.